Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cybermasters. It's Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Introducing my guest and good friend Anthony Paganini.
Hey, what's up?
I just want to say I've known him for 13, 12 years, and
You got it down to the month?
yes, I'm
All right.
about we're about a week or two away from our anniversary.
Wow.
I met you in December of '09.
Wow. Okay.
So that's pretty crazy. You're an audio expert. He's a sponsor of the show. He's given me this gear that allows me to do these fancy tricks that everybody likes to see, and he's teaching me how this works. I got the cameras almost to match, sort of. Look at that, and there I am. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. It's a pretty crazy year. Looking forward to talking about some pretty in-depth audio stuff and just the world in general and how video and audio and social media, it all clicks together. You've done some amazing things. This gentleman also helped me sell 2 albums with a contact you had about 8 years ago. It was pretty interesting music. Nothing came of it yet, but one day before I die. But you know what? I just got to tell you, I'm Austrian, so you've noticed that all Austrian musicians become famous 150 years after they die.
After they're dead, yes.
So, I'm prepared for that. I studied classical music. So, Mr. Paganini, who's also was a famous musician, tell us about yourself and your very interesting studio.
I've been involved in audio since, God, maybe I was 16 or so. I started doing my first studio sessions as a bass player.
You always played bass? Was your primary instrument?
I not really. I started playing trumpet in grade school when I was really young.
You had good lungs for trumpet.
It's more lips than lungs, but my parents weren't that kind of into it. My dad was, because my dad was a musician when he was younger. He didn't really continue on as he got older, but
I didn't know that about you, actually, that you were originally a trumpet player.
Yeah.
You still know how to play?
Yeah, I
Really?
remember. It's weird, man. I went from trumpet and I started to play sax a little bit because I inherited a saxophone in a very weird way.
So saxophone was your second instrument. So first
Kind of.
trumpet,
I
then
played it a
trumpet.
little bit. I really didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. And then one day I picked up the bass. I found
You were still young? You were still in your early teens?
maybe 13, close to 14, maybe.
Basses are pretty heavy. What was your first bass?
So I found a 1963 Fender Jazz bass in my basement.
Okay, that's 80 pounds?
Yeah, about. Yeah. So 2 back surgeries later.
Well, no, I mean, that tells a lot about your stuff. I mean, your first instrument was literally a 20-pound bass.
Well, I found it, so
What else
beggars
you gonna
can't
do?
be choosers. At 13, I don't have any money. I'm not going to the store and buying anything, so I found it, and I was like, all right, cool. The reason I found it, I had remembered my dad playing it when I was really young,
Okay.
and
What kind of tunes was he playing?
my dad, I have no idea.
Oh, you were...
I had no idea
It
what
wasn't
he
like
did,
polka
what
or
it did. No,
anything.
no. It's funny you mentioned that because my dad was actually a professional accordion player.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, he was actually rated one of the best accordion players on the island at one point or something like that.
Get out
Right?
of
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
I love accordion. Accordion's so cool.
I still have his accordion. It's at my mom's house right now. It needs a little work. I've been trying to find an accordion repair person, which I think I finally did find one in Queens, but
You want to learn how to play it?
no, not at all. It's a lot.
I don't really know any accordion players anymore. It would be unique.
I don't either. Besides Weird Al,
Oh man, he really has a great career. Right? I saw some stuff on him. What an incredible individual.
he's definitely unique, and he found his niche, and man, did he run with it. He built his own career off of the careers of everybody else, and not to knock his like original stuff, and I think he's a phenomenal musician.
Yeah.
But like what he did was completely unique, especially for the time that he was doing it. I mean, everybody now does spoofs and things like that, but like he was the original when it came to that kind of thing. I mean, that was.
But it's so
great.
hard to keep your career going. I mean, 30, 40 years, the same shtick, still working, still just as funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny and sad at the same time that he's outlived a lot of the artists that he, parodied.
Yeah.
So, Michael
no
Jackson.
drugs, no alcohol.
Yeah.
We'll let you outlast everybody else.
Yeah,
Not saying
exactly.
much for some of the musicians who, like Aerosmith, they're still alive.
Yeah, I mean, look at Keith Richards. I mean, like, I think he died many years ago, but like, the substances are just keeping him going at this point.
How shitty would it be if it was real? They realized that those drugs were just fake bullshit. That's why they're fine,
right?
It was just a big scam. Oh man, I thought we were doing coke. It was
baking
nothing.
soda. Oh, okay.
You're perfectly healthy, sir.
Yeah.
So, no, let's talk about your studio for a little bit. I want to pull this up here. So, your MEI studio, notice my new little shoot there, shot there. So, tell us what you do in your studio, man. And you've helped me, you've brought me equipment, you've taught me things. I wanted to learn a Flea song. You texted me how to play it, remember?
Yes.
That was awesome. I still have that. Tell us about yourself there.
So I started the studio, I think it was actually 1997, 1998, but I just use 98 as like the go point because that puts me at 20 years old.
Okay, gotcha.
So I was 20 when I kind of started it. I think it was more like 19, but either way.
Okay.
I started ripping my parents' basement apart when I was like 18, 19 years old. That's where my bands used to rehearse down there and everything. So yeah, but we tore the walls down. We did everything, like literally, like we putting soundproofing up and like all sorts of crazy stuff.
Oh wow.
But I was working at a music store at the time. So
Which one? Which music store?
I worked for Sam Ash for almost a year.
Get out of here.
And
Which Sam Ash?
Carl Place.
Okay. I've spent a lot of money there.
Yeah, it's that was not a great place to work when you're trying to start a studio and a music career because you wind up with no paycheck at the end of the week because like you just wind up buying everything and it's like, oh, I got $3 this week, great.
I just want to say that when I bought my Mackie 24/8 analog mixing board, the Eurodesk was 1/20th the price.
Right.
And I went with the Mackie instead of the Eurodesk,
That was
only to realize
that was my
it's
first
the same
mixer.
exact board,
Yeah.
man.
Yep. Yeah. That was my.
Oh man.
My first big mixer was the Eurodesk, the 8000, I think it was.
Really, really.
Yep.
That Mackie was bleeding too. It had bleed all over the place.
You know
it had,
what?
like,
I mean,
channel bleed
for what was
analog.
available for the time, like
For the money.
think about, like we didn't have computer digital interfaces with like all this stuff back then. To be able to put 24 channels like on a board and not have it cost $100,000 was like, oh my god, that's like unbelievable at the time. That was like really.
Did you have the automation bridge that lets you
Yes,
do the meters
I did.
on itself?
I did,
Really?
but I had gotten it like way later.
So what'd you do before that? How did you memorize and go between song and song? If you had to remix 24 channels, that's like hours of work, man.
A lot of cue sheets, or you worked on a project at a time until it was kind of done, and then you moved on to the next thing. I mean, it depends on what was going on and what the project was, but yeah, man, like we had cue sheets. Like you would, I had a binder, and I had gone to Kinko's at the time and printed up, probably 100 pages of blank cue sheets that I made, in Corel or something like that at the
Corel.
time.
Oh my God, how old is that?
Hey man, we're like talking about the late 90s, early 2000s. So, but yeah, that was like, that was the thing. So I printed up this binder and, I would create a file for each client or whatever it was. And then,
old school.
as we're doing things, I would write down, what mic was used, what I went through, what the EQ settings were, if I was using compression or if I was doing anything outboard or whatever it was. And
so I just want to say that when I used to do a mix, I used to take a camera, stand on top of the mixing board and take a picture And then move on to the next song and like label the back right on the back of the picture what song that mix was for. That was common?
I didn't have a digital camera, so.
Man.
That didn't come till the 2000s. So,
you were really. But no, wasn't that a common way of doing it back in the day, man? Take a photo of your mixing board and the settings.
If you needed to, yeah. Like if you had a point and shoot like a digital, I mean, think about the screens on a digital camera back then. They were the size of a postage stamp. Polaroid, yes. Yeah, that actually, we had that. The other thing that we used to do, I remember I had a live gig up in Boston at one point, and the band had gotten there late. They brought me up to do sound for them. And the sound guy that was there was kind of like one of those, like, I know everything, don't come near me. And the band basically just told him, I don't want you in the booth when he's in the booth.
Okay,
and pointing at me.
Oh, really?
And
keep you out.
So am I allowed to drop names and stuff?
Yeah, drop names, man. You're not gonna...
So it was Billy from Biohazard.
Wow.
And he, it was his side project at the time, was Suicide City. So my good friend of mine, Danny, was the drummer in the band.
Oh, sick.
And so they bring me up to help do sound. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. And he basically goes over to the sound guy, and like, Billy's a pretty tough dude. Like I wouldn't want to get in a scrap with that guy. And he just comes up to him. He's like, bro, when this guy's in here, you're not in here. And he turns around and he walks away. And I'm just like, did that just happen? Oh, okay. So the guy turned around and he walked out. And I knew as soon as I left, after getting the sound check, because they had a board. It was only like a 16-channel board or something like that.
Small.
And I knew as soon as I left, the guy was just going to change everything.
Oh, man.
So I always bring like a notebook with me or something like that. I took a notebook and I had I don't know why I had them, but I had a crayon in my pocket. And I took a rubbing of the board.
No way. That's a sick idea.
So I took a rubbing of, because it was all like little, everything was a pot, and it had a little notch on the top of it. I did the thing, and then I took the pen, and I was like, okay, this is high, mid, low, gain, blah, 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 blah. And
that's a sick idea.
So after sound check, we leave, and we went to go get dinner or something like that before the show, and Billy comes over to me, he goes, hey, did you grab a pic of the board, or did you write down the settings and everything? I was like, yeah. And he goes, okay. He goes, you sure you got it? And I pull the thing out of my pocket, and he looks at it. He goes, the hell, I've never seen anybody do that before. I was like, that's all I had. Like, we only had a couple minutes to do the sound check and everything because they were about to open the doors. We had gotten there late. So it was the fastest way that I could come up with just to get like all the settings and everything.
Dude, that's a great idea. So you took a piece of paper and you laid it on top of the knobs.
Yeah.
With a crayon, you
just
made
a rubbing of it. Yeah.
That's a sick idea. What a great idea.
So that was, but yeah, that was like another way that you could like do a recall kind of thing of, you take a rubbing of the,
So let's go back to your company here. So who do you work with? Like, well, you do a lot of things with MEI. You record other people, you've recorded yourself.
Yeah. So as I said, I started back in like 97, 98, and it was just really like I was recording friends' bands. Like I was big in the metal scene back then. So like almost every metal band that, was around at the time had come to me for something at some point. It kind of like grew into a little bit more than that because I started getting clients from like Queens, Brooklyn, New York City, and
all metal people.
Mainly metal stuff. Some of the Brooklyn guys were coming in. They were doing like more pop stuff. This was like when like Britney Spears came out, like that kind of time period. Nice. So one of my first clients outside of like my circle of friends.
What year was this, your first client?
Probably like 97, 98.
97, 98.
Somewhere in there. But one of the first clients
Rap
that I have...
was the reigning music at the time.
Yeah. We'll get into a story with that later. But so one of my first clients there, I still have him as a client today.
Okay.
So 20 plus years, this guy is still coming to me, and we're still working together, and we're still doing things.
Wow.
His company has grown exponentially. Mine has as well. I've from what I started with to what I'm using now is like, I mean, it's night and day, but like the technology has changed night and day from, I started with tape originally, like, so we didn't have digital, nonlinear recorders, DAWs, like anything like that. It just didn't exist back in the late 90s, or if it did, it was like stupid expensive. I mean, I think the main digital thing back then was like ADAT and DA88.
Do you have any pictures of your studio on your website?
Current or old?
Any of them?
No, I try not to.
I wish I saw, because they're amazing.
I do have pictures. I found pictures at my mom's house from way back, like from the 90s of
really?
like what I had. Like it was weird.
But so I guess my big question is, I've heard your music. You've written music. Why is it not your primary profession? Why do you do other side gigs during the day?
That's a loaded question, huh? So when I started this, and things started to snowball, I got really busy. This is, again, late 90s, about 2000.
Yeah.
And I was working 4 jobs at the time.
4 jobs only?
4 jobs.
What were you doing?
I worked at the music store.
Okay, still doing that.
I'm going to take that back a step. So the drummer in the band that I was in owned a pizza restaurant. So I would deliver pizzas for lunch.
Nice.
Around 3 o'clock, I would go to the music store, and I would work the music store from 3 to 9.
Okay.
At 10 o'clock, I would go over to East Meadow, and I worked for an electronics repair company. The guy was teaching me how to do electronics repair because I really wanted to learn how to do that stuff because...
Well, like fixing amps?
Yeah,
and stuff?
I would fix... he was the lead tech of Marshall for years.
Oh, wow.
And he worked for Korg and Marshall or whatever.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine who was... he was a customer at the music store. We call him Jimmy the Greek. Awesome dude. I still talk to him to this day. He's like, hey, Hank, you got to go meet this guy, Roger. You got to meet him. He's great. He'll teach you everything you need to know, whatever. I go over to this guy, and he's like, all right, you seem like a pretty smart kid. He goes, if you want to come here, he goes, I'll teach you. And, in exchange, you'll do some work for me, and we'll fix it. Nice. Dude, a week later, he gave me a key to the store. He gave me the alarm code. Like, he's like, come in whenever you want. Yeah, it was crazy. So I was doing that. I had the band, and then I had the studio. So, like, I had the main jobs and then, the studio on top of it. But yeah, I was working myself crazy, but just to try and get, the pizza store was for gas money. The music store was to get gear. The electronics store was to be able to fix my own stuff when it broke because I didn't have the money to pay for somebody to repair it.
Yeah.
And then I had like the studio and the band, which was
What'd you go to school for? What'd you study in school?
Nothing. I didn't go to school.
Not one day?
Well, I went to high school.
Well, I mean, college. You spend any time in college?
Yeah. I went for a couple semesters here and there.
What'd you go for?
Accounting.
Okay. So I went for accounting. That's good.
I went for 2 semesters for accounting and business law.
Good. That's good to know.
Did really well in business law. Not so good in accounting for some reason. And math is like my thing. So I don't know how that...
It depends on, a lot of things.
And I'd gone to music college also, and I was kind of forced out of that.
Did you get a degree in music college?
No degrees, no anything, but yeah.
Nice.
But anyway, going back to your question of like why I still do. So things were getting busy in the studio, and I kind of was looking at my life thinking, all right, this is something cool. This is happening. I'm making pretty decent money for my age. I
studio work.
I was making way more than any of my friends. Like I was not short on money. I mean, between 4 jobs also. Like, right. But I was also getting 3 hours of sleep a night or whatever it was. But so
there were health issues there.
Yes, and like I kind of was getting fed up with a lot of things. And how
old were you at this time?
22,
so
20, not even. I think I was like 20, 21, somewhere in there.
Just about legal drinking age.
Yeah, which, I was never into drinking or anything like that. But like, yeah.
You were too busy to drink.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, and I was always too, scared of getting like picked up off the street. Because I used to get pulled over all the damn time. My hair used to be down in my, my butt and everything. So I was like a target. I had this clunky car that I drove and... Yeah, but so
like, hey, dude, you getting a ticket?
Yeah, pretty much. And then like, whatever. And so So I got to this point, and I started getting fed up at the music store because the owner was kind of being a jerk. And we had a bit of a falling out over something. And then one day, something happened. I still remember what it was. I don't want to get into it. And I just basically told him,
forget it.
Yeah, I'm out of here. Like, I'm done.
After how many years?
I had been working there probably 4 years at least. Maybe closer to 5.
That's a long time. It's a long time.
And I made this guy a lot of money too.
Mm-hmm.
I sold a lot of stuff. I did well. I built a lot of good relationships, especially with the reps from the different manufacturers. The band that I was playing in at the time, the guitar player was a endorsee of Ibanez Guitars.
Oh,
so
nice.
We used to do
Wow.
like clinics all over the place. Like, we would go to like Jersey. We got sent over to London. I was doing things like, we were playing the whole, Eastern Seaboard. We'd do things. And a lot of stuff.
This is working.
Yeah. So, I kind of got to that point where I was like, this isn't worth it to me anymore. Like, this is getting annoying. So I was thinking about settling down at the time. Like, I had been seeing this girl for a while and, whatever. And I'm like, all right, well, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to put myself in a position that I'm going to be a little more stable? Because the studio thing is feast or famine. Mm-hmm. Like, you could be busy as anything for like 3 months straight, and then you'll go 4 months without a client.
Mm. So it's about saving for a rainy day is the key for that business.
And you got to be really, really disciplined for that. And I have a friend of mine up in Connecticut that does this. I mean, his full-time gig is just, he owns a studio. He works out of studios. And he's having a bang-up year this year because COVID's finally over. He's got, everybody's coming out of the woodwork, and he's doing, great. He works with some really big clients. He's got a couple Grammys under his belt. Like,
wow.
Yeah, this, he's got it. But, when COVID hit, he had nothing coming in. Like, so he was scraping off of his savings and everything, but he was very disciplined over the years, and he saved his money, and, he knew that this day might come. I didn't want to put myself in that position because I kind of felt it the same way. I mean, like, too many people that I knew from studios that I was either working in or people that came in that worked at other studios, that kind of a thing. I got the same story from everybody. It's feast and famine, feast and famine. So I was like, all right.
That it could disappear with the snap of
Oh,
a
absolutely,
finger.
yeah. I mean, you mess up one client's, thing, and that's it. Your career is done. I mean, I worked at a studio in New York City for a while. It was the same studio. I think like Kanye worked out of there for a little while, and Chris Lord-Alge worked out of there as well.
Wow.
Like some,
Big
but
names.
really big names in the studio also. I never got to work with those people, but like I did stuff in the studio and helped out with things. But
oh man, yeah.
But that studio was closing down.
They were not profitable either? How?
This is one of the biggest studios in Manhattan.
How
okay,
can they
going
not
out
be
of business. What was it? I think Power Station going out of business. The Sony studio going out of business. Like almost every studio in New York was going out of business at the beginning of the 2000s. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking one of two things. Okay, either all of this music stuff is going to wind up just moving out to LA or moving down to Nashville again, or just moving away from New York,
leaving the Manhattan scene.
Right. Or we're going to start to see something else happen, because a lot of the reason that studios were kind of taking a dive is they weren't keeping up with the times.
Okay.
I know one of my friends used to work at Avatar Power Station,
Yeah.
and one of the big things was like they didn't want to get into Pro Tools. Or they had Pro Tools and
insane.
They didn't have anybody that knew how to use it. I mean, it was still kind of new at that point, like late 90s.
Yes.
And I always look at technology as, this is where we're going. You can look back all you want, but when you're going to go forward, you have to be able to adapt and adjust yourself, adjust your workflow, adjust everything.
So hold on. So Y2K happened, and you saw all these big studios slipping away, but you had developed it and thought that maybe I can go down this road. But look what's happening now. Right. All these big places are getting slammed. Wait a minute. Maybe you need to pivot.
Yeah. So my thought was, again, one of two things was going to happen. Like, all this is going to move away, or...
And you're a fabulous musician on top of it. I mean, like, you know.
Thanks. The other thing that I was thinking was that smaller places, project studios, were going to become the thing, which is kind of what happened for a while there.
But your good friend and the drummer hung on and passed through it in a successful way, no?
In what respect?
Playing for big bands and staying in the scene.
Yeah. Well, I mean, musicianship thing, that's one thing. Being an engineer, being a recording studio, either owner, manager, you know, whatever it was, you know, even the tech story. Guy that goes and, you know, fixes the stuff, that whatever it was, that completely different from the musician standpoint. Like, the musician thing was going on regardless of what was happening in the studio. Because that's what I wanted to do. Like, I loved being on stage in front of people. You know,
but you were trying to make a business,
right?
Not being
I was trying to stay relevant in a different aspect of the music business, and I wanted to be the guy on the other side of the glass just as much as I wanted to be the guy that was recording. So, like, I wanted the engineer position, I wanted the musician position, and over the years I gradually moved to, I just want to be the engineer. I don't want to play in music anymore.
Hold on. Now, you did a major concert in Europe, a 3-day metal show where you played bass.
We were there for a month.
In front of millions of people. Yeah. I remember when you came back.
That wasn't the first time I did it either.
Pounds,
yeah.
You know
well, that's because there's no food, but
it looked crazy.
And like every day you're sweating your behind off and getting ridiculous exercise, you know, between, you know, moving equipment or, you know, running around on stage and
Was that better for you than doing the studio work?
No. That's why I'm not doing it anymore. In fact, that my last tour that I did back in 11 or 12, I think it was 2011. That made me realize that this ain't the life. This is not what I want to do. This is not who I am or what I want to be able to do with myself. The studio thing was like, all right, this is home. This is, this is a stabilized kind of thing where I can still be involved in it, but I don't have to be in it.
Interesting.
And
now you. One of your first dates, your wife came to a concert and took a picture of you guys, and your hair was all standing up.
That was
very cool.
That was
weird.
She
was supporting you in your music even from then. How wonderful is that?
I guess. I mean,
who'd you open up for that concert?
Rat, I think that
you opened up for Rat, and they played their famous song. Their one-hit wonder song.
Yeah, right. But, yeah, that was a weird show, man, because we didn't know anything about the makeup and everything. Like, we weren't taught.
They put all this crazy makeup on you guys. Like
the drummer and I were hired to do this gig because this girl that was the front woman for this band, she had all sorts of label interest and everything, and they had these like big dates. Like, we had done like 3 or 4 dates, and the drummer had played a bunch of other shows with her as well. But she had these bigger shows that were booked, and she didn't have a drummer or a bass player, and you know, it was just like, all right, well, you know, we'll come and do it, whatever. And we weren't told anything about any of this. And we get to the venue that night, and there's a makeup artist in the dressing room. And me and the drummer look at each other like, what's going on here? Like, really? Like, what?
And they made your hair like
She took the hair, she put like glue in it or something like that. They were throwing cornstarch at us. Like we were just like a mess. And we did the show and everything, but I was not expecting that. And when I got off stage afterwards, when I came and met you guys, I was just like, I don't know. This was completely unexpected. Like, I had no idea this was going to happen.
Well, that's one way to impress a girl.
Yeah, I
You
guess.
know what I mean? And she loved it. Obviously, you're a big rock star. And
I think her friend liked it a lot more than she did. She's not really into that kind of music. But,
really?
Yeah.
Well, listen, it worked, and you guys got married, had kids. So 12, 11 years ago.
Yeah, almost 10 years for us as far as the marriage goes.
Wow,
but,
that's a long time. Very nice.
Yeah.
So what happened then?
9
So
years.
you saw this stuff happening in the industry, and what did you do? What direction did you take?
Yeah, so going back to that, my thought was one of those two things is going to happen, and I was like, all right, I can keep the studio going because right now it's at a house. I'm not paying rent on it. Like, I can kind of keep this going. I had redone half the house. You know, I had a separate booth, control room, and everything.
I saw it. It looked sick.
Nice layout, you know, in there. And I was like, all right, I got to find something else to do. So I started asking.
From boredom? You were bored, or
well, no, I had to find like a job.
Got it.
So I started asking around, and some friends of the family had some contacts at an insurance company, and I went over there for an interview. Again, I had hair down to my ass and everything, like, but I cleaned up nice, put it in a ponytail, and I put on the face, and. Met with one of the guys there, and I had no idea what this guy was going to do. I like, for all I knew, he was going to, like, they had a taxi company or something like that also that was connected to the insurance company. And in fact, the insurance company only did taxi insurance. So I had no idea what this guy was going to ask me to do. I was like, oh, maybe I'm going to go in the garage and like learn how to, you know, fix tailpipes or something. I had no idea.
All right.
But he was the IT guy.
Okay.
And he goes,
you were very technical.
How are you with computers? I said, all right, you know, I do a lot of stuff, you know, in the music stuff, because that's when like the computer started to become the focal point in the studio, and I've been playing computer games since, you know, forever, whatever. You know, I had built my own PC and, you know, putting all the things together. So I explained to him. I said, you know, I know how to use this, and this. And he goes, okay. He goes, do you know anything about programming? I said, not really. I said, you know, I said I'm a pretty quick learner. I said, you know, if you give me something, you know, I can put the time in to learn it or whatever. He goes, have you ever programmed in Excel? And I said, didn't even know you could program in Excel. I said, I know it's a spreadsheet. You know, you can put formulas and stuff in there, but like, you know, he goes, okay. He goes, what about Access? And I'm like, I know it's a database, you know, I have never really, you know, messed with it or anything like that. He goes, all right, well, you already know more than half the people here. So he goes, why don't you come in and we'll get you trained up. Yeah, so we wound up working on like this Sun box. Like we had a Sun Microsystems box that we had to use like, you know, command line for everything. Like this is when like Windows, NT.
Wow, yes.
You know, that's, so 2000 this was. Yeah. So that's where I started to get my feet wet with IT stuff. And they would send us out at the time, like this is right when the internet was like starting to like, you know, everything was starting to go online and everything.
Sure,
so,
high-speed internet, 99, 98, you know.
I mean, a lot of dial-up still, too. I mean, a bunch of the clients that we had were all still on dial-up. But
yeah.
So it was my first time ever learning what like networking was and what, you know, how an office connects to each other and how all that kind of stuff works. And I was like, all right, cool. I started absorbing everything, and they would send us out to clients to install software that they had a company create that used to, and back in the day you were allowed to, like if you had like an insurance company, you were allowed to dial into DMV.
Oh, okay.
And what this thing did was it dialed into DMV, you would put the cabbie's license plate number in, and it would pull the cabbie's record. Oh, wow. And it was a screen scrape, so it would pull all the cabbie's data, and it would put it into our system for the insurance company, so we had a record of, you know, what cab driver had accidents and whatever, so we knew, okay, this guy has like 23 accidents, we're not insuring him.
Oh,
so,
wow,
like,
sick.
You know, it went like through all that kind of stuff, and we went through, I was there for about a year or more.
Yeah.
And
I picked up a ton of info in that time.
Oh, tremendous. I mean, like the guy that was the head IT guy kind of really took me under his wing. And the funny part is he was like trying to learn how to play guitar. So, you know, I would be showing him like, you know, certain things like on guitar and everything, and he would say, oh, okay, and then he would go and show me like Visual Basic code and like how certain things
You're
work.
trading music.
Yeah, basically, yeah, music
for
for IT stuff. So yeah, and the company started having some legal issues. They got into some trouble with one of the companies that they were writing insurance for.
Okay.
And they wound up having to let like half the staff go.
Okay, and you were part of that.
I was part of that let go because I was one of the last hires that had come on, so it was like, you know, last in, first out kind of thing. And then when that happened, I got a call saying, "Hey, by the way, this is Y2K at this point, so government job is looking for IT people.
Okay.
You think you can do this?" I said, "Yeah,
The local
I'm
government
doing this, yeah."
was looking for...
So I said, "Yeah, I think I can handle that. What are we talking about?" So I, break fix kind of stuff. Go in, fix machines, blah blah blah, do this, that, and the other thing. And I looked at it and I was like, all right, so I'm still doing the studio thing on the side. I'm still doing the music thing on the side.
And this is early 2000s.
This is 2000.
Oh, 2000, Y2K,
Yep.
right after.
And actually, going into 2001, so June 1st of 2001 was the first day I walked into the government job.
What?
And I looked at it, I was like, okay, I got a pension with this job. I got health insurance for the first time since I was like under my parents' insurance or whatever it was. I got a steady paycheck coming in because it's a union job, and I know what I can expect. And there's actual upward mobility, and there's opportunity for me to kind of grow and move into into different things. So I started looking at it. I'm like, all right, well, do I stick with this? Do I do this for a little while and like hit the bricks? Like, how, like, I'm trying to plan it out.
You did not look at it as a permanent thing.
Never.
Where were you working? Where was this exactly?
Building wise,
Yes, yeah.
it was in Mineola.
Okay.
There's like a big courthouse in Mineola. It's got a dome on top of it. So
I'm familiar with the building.
At the time,
pictures of it.
the IT department, that was the IT building. When I started working there, they had the data center was in there. The programmers, there were hundreds of programmers at the time.
Wow,
all mainframe programmers, right? And the PC group, because PCs were a fad.
Oh, right, it was a cool new thing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but nobody was ever going to use them. It was a fad. Mainframe was here to stay.
And the green terminals.
Yeah, well, everybody had a green terminal on desk, and they started putting PCs on the desk as well. And it was like, all right, well, we got to start giving these things out. We got to start taking the terminals away. I mean, there's BNC connectors like by the truckload, like through.
Crappy.
Yeah, it was insane. But there were like 6 of us, and there were only 3 guys that were doing any of the actual break fix work.
Okay. And it was like thousands of users.
We had 3,200 users at the time. Like we had 3 guys that would do. We had a couple of guys doing network. We had a couple of guys doing phones. We had we had 2 guys doing like actual PC server stuff because we really didn't have a lot of PC servers. Mm-hmm. And then this giant mainframe support staff. Like, nice. I mean, again, like over 100 programmers. They used to have like the hard disk system that had like the submarine thing on it where like, you had to open it and put the platters down on it. It was crazy. The big tape backup things, and I'm like, wow, cool. It looks like reel-to-reel kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah. And like, oh, you know how to do that? I was like, yeah, it's a reel-to-reel. You spool it. It's the same exact thing as audio. It's exactly, the same kind of stuff. But
so you were jumping in. This is a union position, though.
Yeah. And I started looking at it. I'm like, all right, this is stability. And then I had the studio, which was picking up like nobody's business. Like at that point, I actually was hiring an engineer to come in to do sessions
while you're busy.
I was at the government job doing the thing, and I had 3 sessions a day booked.
Wow.
6 days a week.
Okay.
And I couldn't obviously be in 2 places at once.
Yes.
So like one of the guys that worked at the place in the city, like he was out on the island. He started working at the studio for me.
Oh, that's
and he was taking care of the day stuff. He would leave. I would come home at night and I would work till whatever o'clock in the morning on the night sessions. And
I guess I didn't realize that because we met when you were in the government that you were actually way into music way before you did any of that stuff. So that's why you're kind of still doing that same progression where you're still recording at night. It's been something you're doing your whole life.
Yeah.
Recording at night.
Right. From 2000 to about 2010. So like about that 10-year span, I went through a couple of different changes. Like I wanted to move the studio out and get like a commercial spot. So I found a spot in Garden City.
Okay.
And
you put your stuff in there?
Put a ton of money into it. like, you know, a lot of money into it. Like, did the place up nice, you know, soundproof everything. Like,
What was it called at the time?
same thing.
Oh, MEI?
Well, yeah, I think that's right about when I actually made the MEI thing. Like, I didn't really have a name for it prior to that, but
Okay.
so I wanted the commercial space, and I was like, all right, look, if I have a commercial space, I can start hiring people to take care, you know, do whatever, and I could still go in and do my stuff when, you know, when they're not busy or whatever. So it was like, all right, you know, this could be a thing. I have my side gig. Somebody else is working on it. I'm still making money on that. I'm doing the government thing. I'm getting my pension, my health insurance, and I'm doing good. And, you know, life happens, and, you know, things go weird. And I had a...
When did you record that video out in the salt flats?
That's probably, 2008 or 9.
Oh,
Like,
so
it was
you
later.
had
That was
been
way
working
later.
for the government already.
Oh yeah,
when you did that.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
okay.
That's, I mean, the guitar player in that band, Frank. I met
That's
him
right,
at the government. So yeah.
Got it.
But I had a really bad incident happen to me at the commercial spot I had.
What happened?
I had a gun pulled on me by a client.
While you were recording?
Yes.
A gun pulled. Wow.
To my temple.
To your temple?
Yes. And he wasn't mad at me.
It was that bad of a recording?
No, he wasn't mad at me. He was happy. He, like, the dude came in, he was coked out of his mind, first of all.
Okay.
Like, his eyes were just complete, like, weird. He's, like, you know, rubbing his gums and I'm, like, doing this kind of thing. His jaw's moving and stuff. And the guy's, like, really itchy. And he's wearing this weird, like, Adidas sweatsuit kind of, like, thing or whatever. Like, he looked like he was, like,
Cool in
running.
the 80s.
Yeah, it was. He was 20 years too late. So he was the manager.
Okay.
And he brought this kid in, who was a rapper, and he brought his producer in, who I think the guy maybe said 5 words the entire time he was there.
Okay.
But they walk in, and, like, this guy is just cracked out. Like, he was just, I'm like, oh, God. Like,
But the
you know.
artists were okay, just the manager.
So the manager comes, he goes, there's blah, 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 blah. He's explaining what he needs to do. He goes, here's, you know, this is the producer. You know, he's going to tell you what he wants and yada, yada. I said, great, cool, let's do it, you know. And I had the board. There was I still had the
Mackie?
the big 8000 board or whatever it was. And
The Eurodesk.
I had it was one of the Mackie HDR 2496.
Okay. Yes.
So it wasn't Pro Tools yet. It was like the non-linear editor. Mm-hmm. So it was a hard disk recorder, 24 channel, you know, whatever. And, you know, a bunch of outboard gear that I had collected over the years. So manager explains everything, whatever. And he goes,
He explains everything with, like, how he wants
yeah,
it to go.
this is here's what's going on. This is what I want. This is how we're going to do it. And I had a really nice vocal booth in the play. I had a big live room. I think the live room was like 30 by 20 or something. Like, it was a big room. Like, you could put a whole band in there, like everything. And then I had a server room where I had the computer stuff all set up. I had a backup system in there. All my telecom stuff was in there. It was
sick
cool.
setup.
And then on the other side of that, I had a separate vocal booth that had windows to both the control room and into the live room and everything, so we could separate vocals if you had like a band playing live. Gotcha. So really nice setup. And dude goes into the vocal booth, and the producer sits in the back, and you know, he's mumbling, you know, like whatever, like contributing nothing. No, the producer was fine. Like, he wasn't messed up or anything. Like, he was,
Gotcha.
but he just had nothing to contribute because he had already done the track, so they had given us like a 2-track or whatever. And rapper goes into the booth, kills it, like, really good job or whatever. And we're just about done, and I'm kind of mixing the vocals into you know, the beat that he had given us, and the door to the lounge gets kicked open. Boom! So what the hell was that? This dude walks in, still like messed up, like he had passed out in the lounge.
Nice. Okay.
So like we hadn't heard from him like an hour and a half.
Okay.
Like he was like, I completely forgot he was even there.
Okay.
So he walks in, and he starts yelling all of this racial stuff.
Really?
Okay.
Why was he unhappy at that point?
He wasn't unhappy. He was happy. Okay? He was really happy because he loved the way it sounded. And he was saying a lot of really racially bad stuff. And he pulls...
At the fact that it sounded so good.
Yes. basically he had been working with a certain ethnic group of people for their previous projects, and now he was working with a different ethnic group for this project. And
he was expressing the difference in the
yes.
in the product.
Yes. And he pulls a gun out of his belt. And he puts it right here, and he's waving it around like this next to my head, screaming something that I can't say here.
Telling you did a great job.
Yes. I'm about to have to change my pants. Like, I'm sitting there. I'm just like, oh my God.
Well, you can't accept compliments? I mean, seriously.
I don't mind a compliment, but when, you have a gun pointed at your head and, like, you don't know if it's loaded.
So how long did this last? I mean, how long? Like minutes?
Probably, like, it felt like 3 weeks, but it was maybe a minute.
Oh, my God.
I mean, the guy was going off on a rant. Like, he was, like, the words that were coming out of his mouth were, like, ridiculous. I'll tell you what they were later. I'm not saying it on here right now because it's just...
So congratulations, you did a wonderful job on the recording.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it translated it to.
Yes.
So
that's the Caucasian version.
Yeah.
You did a fine job on the recording,
Thank you very much, sir. So whereupon, like, he starts, like, scratching his own head with the gun.
Oh, wow.
Right? He's doing, like, this kind of thing with it. And I'm just like, oh, my God. Like, I'm going to wind up either dead or somebody else is going to wind up dead here. And this is ridiculous.
I don't know if anybody's ever killed themselves by scratching their head with the top of the gun.
The guy was so messed up. Like, all he had to do was squeeze the wrong way. And his finger was on. He wasn't using proper, trigger etiquette. He
wasn't properly trained in the art.
Yeah, it was, whatever. But so he's there and he finishes his rant. He runs back into the lounge and passes out, like within 3 seconds of sitting down on the couch. We heard him snoring like almost instantly as soon as he passed. The artist comes out of the booth. He goes, "Yo, man, I'm really sorry." He's like, "I don't know what's up with this dude tonight. We've never seen him do this kind of thing before or whatever." And the producers are sitting in the back, like, he turned white. Like, that was...
He was scared.
Oh, dude, he was like beside himself. Like, he didn't even know what to say. He was just like, what did I get myself into?
But they had worked together. They were working together.
I guess he'd never seen this side of him or something, but comes out of the room. He's like, "Dude, whatever." And I said, "No problem, whatever." Guy comes out, pays me, gives his stuff. They pick him up off the couch in the lounge. Like, he couldn't even stand up.
Wow.
Like, he was just
like,
that zonked out. And they, like, had him in the middle, and, like, they were kind of, like, carrying him out the back door of the studio out into the parking lot.
Wow.
And I was just like, oh, my God.
Did you ever see him again after that?
Nope. Never heard about the rapper either. Like, I guess the manager didn't do a good job of promoting him or something like that. But the song came out really good.
I thought it went anywhere. Nothing ever happened.
Not that I know of. I mean, it's just a weird thing. But like that night, I was like, I can't do this. This is not for me. Like, that's.
They went way too far.
Yeah, but the problem with it more was, in that kind of a situation, you don't know who you're going to be working with when you're taking clients off the street, especially, if you have clients that are known to be affiliated with gangs or drugs or anything that kind of stuff comes with. Yeah, and, I get it. Like, I've worked with gangster rap guys 15, 20 years. Like, I never had a problem with these guys before. If anything, like, the opposite was always true. They were always very respectful in front of me.
So why did this particular situation freak you out so much?
It had never happened to me before. And, like, it was the first time anybody's put a gun to my head.
Well, you know what you got to do? You got to get your friends to start waving guns in your head for practice. Yeah, well, 5 minutes at a time. 5 minutes at a time.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so like I thought about it. And I was like, I'm not doing it. I closed the studio.
Really? But you reopened it later.
I moved everything out.
This was when you were in the commercial spot.
I was in the commercial spot, right. I moved everything out, and I went back to the house that I had the studio in, set everything back up, and I said, I am not taking anybody off the street ever again. So from then on...
But only referrals.
Only referrals. Absolutely. So everybody from that day to this day, the only people I've ever taken in have been referrals or corporate clients.
Really? Really? How do you get your corporate clients?
It's all contacts of contacts of contacts. So
okay, it's multi-layer referrals.
Yeah, it's like I had an artist that worked with a label, and then the label liked what we had done with the artist, so they sent me one of their artists. like another one of their artists, and hey, can you do this? Can you mix this? Can you master this? Whatever it was that they needed done. I worked with another management company that had, their mastering engineer died or something. I forget what it was. And they were like, hey, we heard you did a good job with whatever. This guy sent me over here. All right, cool. Yeah, no problem. Send the stuff over. I would send it back. Great.
Is it harder for a young man and woman to start today the way you started? Is it too competitive? What do you say to a young person who wants to get started in putting a studio together and having it as a full-time or a side gig like you've had for years?
I get that question a lot, actually. I'm very active on certain forums, and I hate social media. I haven't been on Facebook in like 10 years or something like that.
You need it. What do you do without it?
I don't need it. But
most people.
Honestly,
young
yes.
people need social media to
advertise. Absolutely. In fact, the interns that I get in my studio, that's one of the things that I always tell them: network. It's all about who you know. It's you could suck at what you do, but if you know the right people, you're still going to get work. And that really never was not true. I mean, like you can go all the way back to when we were still cutting records on shellac, like without like
on cassette with a cassette recorder.
Even before that, like but even still, like it's the music business is all about who you know. It's not about what you know. It's not how good you are.
Do you think a young person who goes out and networks has the same opportunities today as you had 30 years ago?
In some respects, more opportunity. In some respects, way less opportunity.
Compare the two. How do you mean?
So somebody getting involved today has tools at their disposal that we never had.
Such as social media tools.
Even beyond that, I'm talking about the audio tools.
Crazy
just
software.
Sticking with just the actual job itself. Yeah. I mean, forget about the networking tools is way better now because it's a one world community at this point.
Well, look at the studio. I'm solo, and look at all the stuff that's happening.
Exactly. Like this didn't exist. I hit the mic.
Yeah.
This didn't exist. 30 years ago. Like, there's no way you'd be sitting here doing this. Like, there's no way you'd be broadcasting to potentially every human on Earth at the same time. Like, that didn't exist.
Totally.
So, in that respect, yeah. I mean, it's absolutely needed. But like the tools for the job, look at what, the early 90s, 80s, like when you were recording, you were going into a big studio. Or like their project studios did exist, but they were still expensive. Like tape machine's going to run you, $10, $20, $30, $40,000, whatever. A console, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Any of the outboard gear, thousands and thousands. This was
Mics,
a big investment.
Cables.
Yeah. A student coming out of college or high school or whatever it is,
doesn't have.
You might be able to afford, an SM57. And even those little mixers, like the little like Onyx mixers and stuff that we have, like those kind of.
Yeah, but hold on, man. There's so much used gear out there that's in great condition. Really, I mean, if you're looking for gear, you can get your hands on gear that's used. That's great.
Now there is, yeah. I mean, you got Reverb. You have tons of different.
Totally.
I had started a gear exchange years ago on Facebook that's still going strong today. I handed it off to somebody else to take care of because I just had given up on the social media thing. But yeah, man, like there's so much opportunity out there, and like anything that you could possibly want, you can find it. Like it's going to be somewhere, eBay, Craigslist, Let Go, all of these different places that, people are dumping stuff off or whatever. But even if you buy new, like think about what you need. You can record an album on this.
Yeah.
That's frightening. And it's awesome at the same time.
How does the music industry today splinter off? You started as learning some music, and if you want to go into engineering, what routes do you see young people could take in music production today?
So there's schools for it now. There was never schools for it before, for the most part. You had music business classes that you would take. Like when I was going to that music college for a little bit, I went for audio engineering. It was one of the only schools that in audio engineering.
What was it called?
What, the school?
Yeah.
I went to Five Towns.
Five Towns.
So
one of the most prominent known schools in America for music.
it was known as Five Clowns back then because it was,
Really?
you know, yeah. I mean, it was like a joke at the time because, like, oh, why are you going to school for audio? Like, who does that? Like, but that's the way that studio managers looked at that kind of thing. I worked at a studio. The owner, if he got a resume from a student of Full Sail, which is another music school that's like around the country, if he saw Full Sail on the resume, he would throw it right in the garbage.
Really?
He didn't care about it.
Why? He didn't care about the education part, or
most studios don't, and they still don't. It's more about
even today.
Even
the
today,
degree is useless.
It's useless.
The experience.
Degree in audio engineering is useless. The only time I will say that it maybe is useful if you're going into like broadcast or you're going into some kind of more corporate audio kind of thing. Like if you want to go work for NBC or you want to go work for like a movie studio or something like that. They might care a little bit more that you have formal education for it. If you go to a studio, I've yet to meet a studio owner that says, "Let me see what your resume, let me see your degree or whatever it is."
What about musical ability? Do you need to be a musician and understand music?
You don't, but it is such a huge help. Understanding how music works.
Technical music.
Technical and creative, being able to understand like something as far as what a sound is, or recognizing like a certain sound. Like how many times I get a client in that says, "Oh, like here, listen to this. I want this kind of thing." He didn't even know what instrument it was, that was playing. Okay. It's like, "Oh yeah, that's a sitar or something, some Balinese gamelan or something like that, like some weird
so you don't
thing
have to know the circle of fifths necessarily, which is advanced music scale understanding.
Yeah, I mean,
but you have to understand music.
Understanding music is huge. I would not recommend anybody go into it without having some sort of a musical background, but it's not needed. Like you can get by without it if you.
So you can become a great studio guy and never be able to play any instrument and be great.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's so many guys out there.
The guys who started Def Jam Records, don't they play? No, neither of them are musicians. Right? Rick Rubin, does he play?
No. Well,
maybe Electric Triangle.
No, I think he played guitar for a bit or something like that, but he was never like a musician.
He helped so many people.
Yeah.
Rick Rubin helps.
Rick's a weird dude, man.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, on the video with Chris Cornell, he's in the background, and I don't know. He like loved his artists. What an incredible guy.
But he's got an ear, and he understands.
He was on Rogan, dude, like a month or two ago.
He understands musicians. He understands what sounds good, and he can hear things that don't exist yet.
Can we talk about Def Jam Records and what he and Russell Simmons did in 1983? These two guys were potheads at Adelphi University, and they came up with, I think it was either 81 or 83, right here in Long Island,
yeah.
Elmont, going to Adelphi University. They started Def Jam Records, to the point where for 10 years rap music was internationally reigning.
Yeah.
I mean, the artists they put through, and they did both metal and rap.
Well, Rick did, yeah. I mean,
incredible. And people
Rick
don't
was
know
known for his rap stuff.
He's still alive, this guy.
Well, I mean, that whole situation was crazy. But like look what was going on in the industry at the point, though. You had another rock and roll happening. So back in the 50s, most labels and recording
But Def Jam
studios
was a defining moment in our time
for hip hop and rap. Absolutely.
And people don't know who Rick Rubin is.
He's the faceless man behind the sounds.
Faceless. He's got a beard the size of this room.
Yeah, and he's got feet that are as black as night as well. But he doesn't wear shoes.
Apparently, a very nice man. A little pretentious.
No, he's a weird dude, but he's you can talk to him. Like he's not that.
How well does he understand music theory?
I don't know. I've never sat down and had a conversation. Like I met him in passing at events like out in L.A. and stuff like that, and said hi to him and chit chat kind of thing. Like, oh yeah, this that whatever. I've never had like a conversation with him. No.
Now I dream about my hero Dave Mustaine. You've met Dave Mustaine?
A couple times, yeah.
And what can you tell us about Mr. Mustaine, my music hero of all time?
Same kind of thing.
His son's name is Justice.
Yes. We don't have to get into that one. There's still some of that Metallica angst there for some reason.
Yeah, I hear about that.
You know what his daughter's name is, right?
No, what's his daughter's name?
Elektra.
Oh, like, really?
The label that Metallica was on. Oh, my God. I think it's Elektra.
He can't let go.
I think it's Elektra.
He can't let go.
But maybe I could be wrong on that.
What's Mustaine like? What's Mr. Mustaine like? Very technical, right?
So I met him twice. I met him when things weren't so good.
With who?
With him.
Okay, with his neck problem.
No. This is back a little bit further when there were other issues, substance issues, things like that. Oh,
when he was a drug addict.
Yeah. I mean, he still is. It's just that, he's got it under wraps now.
But us as fans ignore all that because the music's so lovely.
Do we?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
I'm going to be honest with you. The main reason that I don't do drugs and drink to excess is because he did.
Wow, he was like your guy of why not to drink, really?
That man has kept me alive. I told him that.
Really? So he's both of our heroes.
Last time I had a conversation with him was before COVID in Anaheim, California, right before Nick Menza died. In fact, we sat in IHOP next to Nick Menza for breakfast one morning.
Wow, sick.
Yeah, and that's right when they were about to talk about getting back together or whatever. And I'm sitting there, and my friend Danny, who's a drummer also, and he's
like, look who's sitting next.
He's like, should we ask him? Should we ask him? Like, no, leave the dude alone, whatever. But yeah, and Ellefson also was there as well.
Oh, man.
And I actually had business with Ellefson because I had to talk to him about something. This is when he wasn't in the band anymore.
Oh, got it. Already out.
So there was something going on. I might even be confusing two of the
Ellefson
years.
Ellefson was in, he was out. I think once or twice it happened, right?
He was doing the F5
but
thing.
I just want to say that Ellefson recently was asked to leave the band because of things he went through, or he got in trouble.
Yeah, I thought that was messed up.
Well, what was the story? Are you able to talk about it, or is it just
I don't know the
rumors?
story 100%. All I know is that he got pinned for something that allegedly he didn't do, and Mustaine and his newfound sobriety and enlightenment, if you will.
Enlightenment in the world, yes. No longer accepts anything weird.
Well, yeah, these things that Ellefson was accused of didn't fit into his business plan.
Okay.
And it's not something that he was willing to accept and say, all right, you messed up or whatever. It was too much for him to. He was like, you know what? You crossed the line here. Whether you did it or didn't do it, I don't think he cared. It was just you crossed the line and hit the bricks.
So I'm going to hit you with a tough question. We're coming up to an important segment, and if you've watched the show, you know this is important to me. Okay, so Dave Ellefson, and I don't know how it never bothered Dave Mustaine, plays bass with a pick.
Okay.
Why is that acceptable?
Why isn't it acceptable?
The guy from Tool plays with a pick.
Thousands of guys that play with a pick.
You don't play with a pick.
I do when I have to.
But isn't it cheesy to play bass with a pick?
Tell that to Lemmy.
But Lemmy was a singer also.
Okay, well.
Oh, but Tom Araya doesn't use a pick.
Okay. But
I mean, that's a real bass player singer. Blackie Lawless doesn't use a pick.
Hey, it's a style thing, man. It's a style thing. It whatever you're comfortable doing.
So you're okay with bass players using picks? It's not a thing.
I used to be like so against it. I used to be the guy that was like, oh yeah, you can't play with your fingers. These don't work. But I've mellowed out with that over the years. Being in so many different studio situations that like called for things like that. When
is it okay for you to use a pick on a bass?
When the situation calls for it.
Well, give me one situation, for example.
So we had to do
Master of Puppets. You could play by hand.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No problem. You could play the entire
I could play all the Megadeth songs.
I was going to say you could play entire Rust in Peace album, without using a pick. But we had to do a Western soundtrack.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be like those spaghetti Western kind of things where, Fistful of Dollars and like the old Clint Eastwood movies and like things like that. That kind of stuff. A lot of the sound of that, where you think it's a guitar, it's a bass with flat wound strings on it.
No way!
And you hear like these like
ding 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 ding.
Well, not even that, but like this like the underlying rhythm that's like dum 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 dum.
Yes,
dum, dum,
that's
dum.
a bass.
It's a bass with a pick, and you really hear the pick attack on it. And that was the sound that the producer wanted for this project.
Really? Okay.
And I actually had to go. I that morning, I went to Guitar Center and I had to buy a P bass because none of the basses I had in the studio sounded bad enough.
You had to buy a shitty bass.
I had to buy a crap bass and buy flat wound strings to get that sound because he was so adamant. I want that sound. He gave me examples.
You can't hit that sound with a guitar and a mic?
No, that has such a definitive sound.
Really,
and and
okay.
And the pick attack, that percussive sound is like 90% of it.
Okay. But bass god Victor.
Okay.
He can make it sound like a pick.
I can too. I use my fingernail.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, or just the up and down thing.
Right.
So Victor Wooten, the bass god, what do you think? Have you ever met Victor Wooten?
Met him once.
I've seen. I weep when I watch his stuff on YouTube. It's very emotional.
Did you ever read that book?
Yes, of course,
okay.
and I have to give it back to you. I'm sorry. I read it 1.5 times. An incredible book. It changed
book,
my
isn't
life.
It?
I'm a better musician today because of that freaking book.
That book is so crazy. But
you want to pull it up on the website or forget about it? No, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, if you want to talk about it, that's fine.
Yeah. The Victor Wooten book. It's called The Music Lesson by Victor Wooten, who's an incredible bass player, and talks about music without being a musician. What music means to humanity. Where music is in reality.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, that it's such a different outlook than I had growing up.
Of music.
And to me, music was a technical thing. Music was math. Music was this note at this time.
Give me some pen. I'm gonna pull that shit up.
Do you think? To me, music was a very technical thing, which is why I was really into like metal and prog and like that kind of stuff. And his influence took things in a completely different direction for me. Mm-hmm. And it really opened up my mind as far as what being a bass player and being a musician really meant.
Agreed.
Here
it is.
Yeah.
Here it is. The Music Lesson by Victor Wooten. It's life-changing. You gave me this book. It's life-changing.
It's a wild ride, man.
It's a short book. It's readable.
Yep.
It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They talk about some interesting stuff. I think whether you're a musician or not, it will make you appreciate and understand music on a completely different level. Agreed?
Absolutely. I mean, that's something that I had never even considered. And it's one of the best lines you ever taught me, by the way.
What was that?
When you're speaking with somebody and you want to try to make your point rather than being accusatory or demanding or something, you say to the person, consider the possibility that X. So you're not saying that this is definitely the right way, the wrong way, whatever. Just consider the possibility of other options. And you told me that, God, so many years ago, and it stuck with me, and wow. I use that a lot now.
Wow.
So
that's NLP training.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
That's Landmark Forum.
Okay. But yeah, that and it makes sense, but that's kind of what that's about. And it kind of...
Agreed.
there's a lot of parallels in that book to Landmark and to, what people perceive, how they perceive it, and what people think of not only about themselves, but about the world around them, and how to kind of parse that information and to be able to use it for either the greater good or your purpose or, whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, it's incredible. It's a crazy book, man. It really is.
I just love it. I recommend it, absolutely, The music lesson, life-changing experience there. That's really interesting. Thank you for bringing this up. I think Victor Wooten gets me very emotional. It's just my friends went to Victor Wooten camp.
Oh, did they? I've always wanted to do that.
I just think about it, like two Jewish guys going to hang out with Victor Wooten, and they said it was life-changing. He's an accepting, incredible individual as a person. I would love to go to the Victor Wooten camp.
If I had to describe him in a word, peace would be the word that I would describe him. He is the most chill dude I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
I've gone to I don't know how many of his shows, with Bella Fleck, and even I think I saw him solo once. But I got to shake his hand one day, and it made my hands feel so inadequate.
Bro, hold on. We got to look at this for a second. This is it.
Yeah.
The Victor Wooten camp.
Nice.
The 2023 schedule.
Yeah, I can't afford that.
Peace. Our plan is to be back in full swing in 2023 with a full session of programs and events, starting with a spring gathering. Nice. Oh, my God. Peace, Vic. Oh, man, I don't know. And you hang out in the woods and in a cabin, and you're chilling, and you're hanging with Victor Wooten, and he's teaching you about music.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's...
Dear Lord. This is incredible.
Yeah, I wish I could have done that. That's got to be an experience.
Here's the faculty.
I think it would be lost on me now.
I think these guys know a little bit about music.
Yeah,
right?
just
Victor Wooten.
Steve Bailey.
Who's Steve Bailey?
Bass player.
For?
I know him as a studio guy. I know he's got countless albums out there, but...
wow, look at these guys.
Gottlieb, yep. Chuck Rainey, come on.
Reggie? I didn't know that's his older brother played. Yeah, of
Reggie
course,
Wooten?
that's right. Yeah, of course he does.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Of course he does. He's just not as popular.
Did you know Future Man?
Yes.
That's his brother, too.
Oh, really? Yeah. Get out of here. Oh, man, that's sick.
That's,
I love this man. Everything I've seen and learned about him is just fabulous. Fabulous Victor Wooten. So sorry to go down that road.
No, absolutely, man. That's a huge influence in my later musical life.
Yeah.
He was a lot. I mean, the whole technical aspect of what he did is what drew him to me, or drew me to him rather. But his feel was something I could never
achieve.
Not achieve.
No.
Something that I didn't understand. Because to me, music, again, was numbers. And it was all right, you're going to come in on a downbeat. You're going to play this note for a certain amount of time. And it's going to be this. And you have to play this. And it has to be in this key, blah, 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 blah. Victor came in, took that, crumpled it in a ball, threw it against the wall, and went right in the can, didn't miss.
Let me show you how I'm going to do this.
But the whole idea of not having to be metronomic for, God, 20 years almost, my whole thought, all I did was practice to a metronome. Everything I did was to a click. Even my bands would play to clicks live. We had in-ear monitors that had click tracks going while we were playing live. That's how crazy obsessed I was.
Yeah, but hold on. When you look at the 70s bass players, some of those were the lead parts. I mean, Larry Graham, you can go on and on.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. But
lead parts even,
But I'm talking about, the feel of it. And what I mean by feel, there's a whole bunch of things when you talk about feel. One of the main things is timing. And to me, if you weren't right on the beat, you were off. Victor came in and I could be behind the beat. I could be ahead of the beat. I could be right on the beat if I want to, but
Right.
that's my choice, and I'm going to be able to dictate what this feels like by moving that before, after, on, whatever it is. The other part of it is the dynamics of it, and being able to, speak with the instrument, and, like, when you want to get loud, you get loud. When you want to pull back and you want to be quiet, you want to be in the background, you pull back, you quiet in the background. And to him, it's just effortless. Like,
It's perfect.
there's no thought process at all for any of that to me. Like, when I look at him play, I think he's somewhere in a field of daisies running around with like a golden retriever or something like that, and he's just having the time of his life in his head. And his body is just completely on autopilot when he plays.
Tell me about, let's shift to another infamous bass player.
Infamous. Uh-oh.
Talk to us about Jaco Pastorius.
Oh, good Lord. So,
How do you feel about this individual?
sad.
He changed music forever.
Yeah, it's sad.
And now I just want to talk about this for a moment because
It's sad.
incredible story. So, Weather Report with other incredible musicians. Just want to say you see him in the video, he's extremely drugged up. He's sweating from the drugs on stage.
Probably alcohol more than drugs.
Or alcohol. And was the most infamous bass player of a time, could play incredible music.
Yeah.
And then in the mid-30s was all drunk at a bar, and he messed with the bouncer. The bouncer punched him in the face and killed him.
Yep.
And no one ever captured the notes of his music playing.
You don't think so?
That's the rumors I hear. What do you hear?
I mean, he had students. He had tons
Even
of students.
the
we know one of his students.
Yes, but so the student that we know said that didn't even jam during practice. They would talk about music. You know what I mean? It was like that.
But you just made that point. So think about what you just said about Victor Wooten and what a musical impact he had from that book. Just by reading his words. You didn't have, in that book, there was not one lick of music in that book. There's not one sheet music. There's not one scale in there. There's nothing in there.
Good point.
But just by talking with the guy and having that mental aspect to apply to what you're doing is huge.
Wow, but yeah, that's true. Certainly, if people are looking to understand music on an extreme basis, he's a musician to seek.
Again, he like Victor, completely different universe level. That there's very few that attain that level of originality and musicianship and innovation. And I mean, when we look at most of the bass players that we consider influences or innovators, all of those guys, women, because Carol Kay.
Carol Kay.
I mean, like,
yeah.
Nobody knew who the heck Carol Kay was forever. Like, you just assumed that there was some, sweaty old dude in a Nashville, studio or wherever she was recording out of. Like, you just figured it was some old dude, like, playing bass and laying it down.
Born March 24th, 1935, American musician. One of the most prolific recorded bass guitarists in rock music.
10,000
recordings in 50 years. Dear Lord.
She recorded every day for like 20 years straight, man.
Holy
that
crap.
one was on everything. Like, you couldn't hit a song like, back in the 60s or whatever it was, like, without hitting her. Yeah, like, 50s, 60s. I think it was late 50s, early 60s she started really getting in, But, yeah, man. Like,
Incredible. Somebody else I want to pull up here. Larry Graham. What's your take on our friend Larry? Interesting style, very natural, not uber technical.
I don't really have a opinion. I'm not really that versed on his stuff. I never really got into him. I'm aware of who he is, but
love him as a musician. Who's your current top musician that you're into? Who's the one you like wows you today?
I don't listen to music anymore.
There's not one person who wows you?
Not one.
Yourself? Do you wow yourself?
No. No. And it's weird when I have this conversation with people like, you're a musician, how can you not listen to music? You work in a studio, how can you not listen to music? Well, I listen to music in the studio, but I listen to it from a very sterile and mechanical, yeah, exactly, a very clinical kind of way. And unfortunately, I can't turn that off anymore. And so many years in the studio, like, you listen to something and you're just like, oh, there's too much 3K there. That's got to get cut. The compression wasn't enough.
So you can't even enjoy it.
It's hard, man. It's really hard. And I've been trying to, like, during
like, what are you trying to listen to?
Lockdown, weird stuff, like really out there, like completely different, like things that I would have never listened to.
Jazz based.
I started listening to some jazz. I always listened to jazz for like Milt Hinton.
Yes.
I don't know if you're familiar who he is.
Yes.
When I was in high school, I kind of got forced into playing upright bass.
Oh, nice.
I was also forced into playing tuba.
Oh.
I don't have to get into that. I got to play in Rockefeller Center, but on a tuba. So I started like
this individual right here, Milt Hinton.
Man,
incredible man.
So
played some great stuff. Look at early life in Mississippi. Can you imagine his background, man?
No, I mean that side of the universe. I understand what happened. I understand what was going on, but I don't think we can ever really understand what happened. What was going on.
During his time, he first heard concerts featuring Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, Earl Hines. Imagine seeing those shows early on. Oh, how sick!
That was the thing, though. Like, that was like you going and turning the TV on and watching Monday Night Football like that.
Yeah, it was the main attraction.
That's who was around back then, Like, and when they came to town, like that's what you went to go see. But like,
oh, this is something interesting here. Hold on, this is a payroll tax deduction in 1947 for $7.20. What is that net pay for $92.80? What is that for one show? Pay stub from Cab Calloway to Milt.
Probably for a week.
1947. Oh wow!
Is that from the Apollo? That's what it looks like.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool.
Have you ever heard of stuff?
What?
Have you heard Milt Hinton stuff?
Yes, very.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
So when I was in high school, I had to start playing this upright bass, and to me, I'm a horrible bow player. I can't bow to save my life. Like, it's fingers, no problem. Like, I picked it up. It just made sense to me from playing the electric bass. I picked up the upright bass, and I could instantly play it with my fingers.
But the bow didn't agree with you.
Bow sucked at. Wasn't even going there. So I was like, all right, well, what can I listen to kind of get, my brain wrapped around what the upright bass can do? Because, like, electric bass, there's a lot of different styles you can do. You got finger style, pick style, you slap bass, a whole bunch of other weird things going on. So, what's out there? I went into Borders bookstore.
Borders.
Okay. All right, this is how far back we're going. We're like 95 right now or something like that. 94, 95, I guess. Maybe 96. No, it wasn't 96. But going to Borders bookstore. And there was a girl working behind the counter, and she was like really into jazz. I don't know how I knew it, but I knew it somehow.
She had the jazz face.
Maybe. Something,
The jazz hands.
I might have like overheard her talking to somebody about it or something like that. But I lived like 3 blocks away from Borders, like over in Westbury at the time.
Nice, you were right there.
I was there like 3 or 4 nights a week.
Wow.
Like, I would just walk over there and like hang out in there and just look at all the things. Digging through the Iron Maiden collection, the Megadeth collection. I was always pissed that they didn't have the newest one, whatever it was.
Plus, it's a good place to meet intellectual women, I would assume.
Maybe.
You were busy with the work.
Yeah, I was working too much. But no, I was still in high school at the time. I didn't nice. But so I went over to her and I said, I'm looking for like a jazz bass. Is there any like unique jazz bass players that like, can you recommend something to me? And she goes, well, what kind of jazz are you looking for? Like, Coltrane, like, weird, out there kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So now something maybe a little more traditional.
And
but like,
Coltrane plays very odd scales.
well, he does that, but like he used to do traditional stuff as well, and he went kind of off the deep end or whatever. But hey, whatever. It's
Yeah, he lost his mind, didn't he? Or he
I don't
went crazy?
know. I don't know. I didn't.
There's
I actually have a
whole
book.
story.
I have his book at home right now that I haven't opened yet, and I have to. I have to read that book.
It's coming.
Yeah. But so she said, all right, you want something a little more traditional. She goes, you got to check this guy out. Like, he's like 92 years old or something like that, and he just put an album out. Like, guy's 92 years old, and he just put an album out. I'm like, how good's this going to be? So she goes, check this out. And she hands me this album. And I think it's called Laughing at Life.
Okay.
Have you ever heard the album?
No.
You got to hear it.
Laughing at Life. I can't place it.
It's like a blue album. Like the one that I had, at least, was it was like blue and white or something like that. And he sings and plays bass on the album, and he's got this old man voice. And when I say old man voice, like like you can hear the spit in the corners of his mouth, like in the recording.
He's that old.
Like he's just like dusty. And it's so powerful.
Really?
It's just like you can tell that this is like
a Hank Williams.
This guy is just putting his life out in front of you, and you're listening to this, and you're like, wow, this guy's like 90-something years old or whatever he was at the time, and he's still doing it. Like this guy's still kicking it. And I'm listening to these songs, it's real slow, but boom, boom, kind of jazz thing.
And he's nailing it.
Wait, and I get to this one track. The thing is like speed metal blazing.
Really?
Okay? And he's doing this upright slap thing on it. And I'm listening, I'm like, what the? What is this? Like,
Really?
I've never heard anything.
Really?
Dude, and it's like that's the tempo on this thing. Like this song is like ridiculously fast. And I'm listening, and he's doing like just crazy stuff. I had this image in my head, like looking at the dude's picture on the liner notes and everything. We don't have that anymore, by the way. That's a shame.
Totally. Yeah, I agree.
But I'm looking at this thing, and I'm picturing this guy like, I'm just and all of a sudden this comes on, and I'm like, I can't put in my head that old guy that was just singing about like geriatric stuff, like ripping this thing like
to pieces. That's awesome.
Like all of a sudden, like he had turned into Steve Harris. Like there was like gallop things going on and stuff. I'm like, what
sick.
the hell? And I had to know how to do that. And I started racking, like, how is this dude doing that? To this day, I still can't figure it out.
Really, to this. But it's the it's the thumb up and down. I know the thumb up and down.
This is on upright.
Oh,
this is this dude's hand hitting the neck and the body and whatever else it was. And he's doing things that are just like...
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta check him out. I gotta spend some time on that guy.
Do that. Yeah.
So let's wrap up.
Yeah.
Let's get to the end of the show. When we started, you said I don't know what we're going to talk about. So we're an hour and a half into our discussion.
God, has it been that long?
It goes quick.
Yeah, doesn't it?
Right? We're talking about a lot of stuff here.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other stuff to talk about. But do you don't want anybody to contact you? You only want to hear about somebody who may want to do a recording through a friend, maybe me. So maybe through me you can get access to Anthony. Maybe possibly work with you in a recording. But we had a special situation about 8 months ago. There was an interesting individual who we became friends with, and he had done work done to his old tape deck. And you found it very interesting and decided to take on the project. So you'll work on interesting projects if the people are cool, right?
Absolutely.
Isn't that what Jim? I mean, Jim's mad cool. Such a great guy to work with. You know,
he's in fact the Coltrane book. That's who I got the Coltrane book from.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
He was getting rid of a whole bunch of stuff because he was planning on moving, and he got rid of a bunch of CDs. I have like an entire jazz collection now from him.
Nice.
And some world music and stuff like that, and like again, really just opened up the palette for a whole bunch of different stuff. But
So me, him, and Paul have been out to dinner a couple of times. It'd be really great if the four of us could get together and go to one of his fancy restaurants in Queens.
I've been meaning to do that.
Please,
with it.
make
He keeps
time for
inviting
that.
me to go to like these
I've
like
been to
different places.
2 or 3 with him.
I really got to do it before he leaves.
He's
but,
such a connoisseur. He understands this stuff.
Did you ever read his books?
Yes, I have his web app. That
So do
tells
I.
you
So do I.
about the
I wish
special
I
foods.
wish I
It's
had
fabulous.
that. I wish I had that app when I was on tour.
Oh man, so you could taste all the foods and ask for the right foods.
Yeah.
If you're going to Europe, you got to download this app. What was the name of the app, real quick?
I have it on here.
It's something foods. We'll post it in our post later.
Yeah, I have like 600.
But it's a whole app. I have like thousands of apps.
Eat everywhere.
Eat everywhere. Yes.
That's it.
And I just want to kind of talk about this.
Awesome
a little
app.
bit. Awesome app and awesome guy.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely. 100%.
So Eat Everywhere is an app. Let me pull it up here, folks. We both have it. I paid for it. I think it was really expensive at $4.99.
Yeah, it was something crazy. Like that.
Really something crazy
Broke
like
the
that. But you don't have to pay. Yeah. And in this app, it'll tell you what kind of food to ask for when you go to certain food places, so they don't give you like the
and it
the American
categorizes it.
stuff.
Well,
and it categorizes.
But it categorizes. So if you're like a very conservative, like you're not somebody that likes to step outside and get like the exotic stuff. Well, here's like the comfort food for that particular type of cuisine, and
covering 75 different cuisines.
Yeah.
Things to know, litmus test, icebreaker dishes. This app is sick.
Yeah.
It's totally worth it.
He started bringing me stuff from like places upstate. Like he brought me like these pastries one day, and he brought me something out. Like I was just like, damn, this guy knows what's up.
So he is friends with Paul, and that's how we got together. Mm-hmm. It'd be really great if the four of us could go.
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
So I went with him. He took us out the first time. We went to a restaurant, and we had drinks at a bar where the airplanes were flying right above us over the airport. It was sick. It was really awesome right before COVID. And it's really fun. Really, if, that'd be great to do it.
I would love to do that.
And even bring him on the show and talk about this awesome system that he has. He does like many things too. He's involved in like 90 other things.
He's a phenomenal trombone player, right?
Yeah, I heard. I heard. He's wonderful. Yeah.
So we were
Another
talking about
musician.
possibly doing a.
So what did you do for him? You fixed a very specialized.
So he
piece
had,
of equipment.
he had two devices that were just old, like really old. He had one.
How do you know because you know how to work on all that old stuff.
Yeah. So like he had an original, one of the original Sony Walkman. I don't know if you know anything about those, but like the playback head that's in there is like one of the best playback heads like ever made.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
The fidelity that you get off of that thing is ridiculous. But like you look at stuff that we have now, like inside the phone and everything, you get these surface mount chips and everything. This was all like through hole resistors and capacitors and things. Like this was like a circuit board that was hand soldered. Nice. There's like 7,000 wires just rat nested in there and everything like that. But it was really old. He had it in storage or something. I don't know what the story was with it, but the belts dried out, so I had to do belt replacement on it.
And he'd been looking for someone for years to help him and could find no one. So throughout New York City.
Took care of it. Like I had it back to him within like 2 days or something like that.
So you'll work on very high-end specialty older audio gear if the guy's cool.
Sometimes. If I'm comfortable with doing it. Like I've worked on some crazy stuff in the past. But the other thing that he had was an old Tascam 4-track.
Oh, wow.
Like the little multi-track thing. And there's a little plastic piece that the head sits on that when you hit play, this whole thing kind of goes up. It pinches the tape and whatever. They
can't get that part anymore.
They haven't made the part in 10 years. We both scoured the web. He originally just wanted the belts changed on it as well because that's what he thought was broken. Turns out it wasn't the case. This little plastic piece where there's a spring on it, the spring tension broke the plastic because the plastic just got old and cracked.
Cracked, right.
Exactly. So, can't get the part anywhere. In fact, the only place that said that they had the part in the last 10 years, I had contacted them, and the guy's like, nah, we can't get those parts anymore. They're long gone. Mm-hmm. So I did my thing, and I 3D printed
Nice.
a replacement of it. So I took the thing out of the unit,
Okay.
measured every little aspect, every little hole, every little nook and cranny of the thing. And I think I've done something like that for you at one point.
You did.
But yeah, so
I have one of your 3D prints here. It's the little Metallica.
Yeah,
one.
but no, so I basically redesigned this part, and I was like, all right, well, let's see if this thing works. You know, I'm gonna put this thing back together with this 3D printed part. I popped it in, thing worked. I was like,
No
holy
way.
crap! I contacted the guy at the company that said, I was like, look, by the way, if you want these parts, you can 3D print it. I have model if you want to, whatever. And the guy's like, you have no idea how many people are looking for this part. And I never sent it to the guy. I really should, but
nah, make a business out of it. $50, bro. $50.
But
that's very sick. That's very sick.
But yeah, man, it
So
saved the piece. I was like, all right, very cool.
So you worked on a part for me that I have not completed yet, which was the
sewing machine.
The
thing
sewing machine, from the Singer sewing machine,
Yeah.
the little arm that pulls the thread through.
Yep.
And most people have to use a 3D camera to take a picture, but you're doing it from like
I use calipers.
eyeball
Yeah,
and
I'm old school.
Wow. So let's just talk about this. When we did work together, 3D printers just came out, and if you guys know anything about printers in a large corporate environment, when you lose a little clip on a tray, you could spend thousands of dollars to replace an entire tray.
Yep.
We got together, we started doing 3D printers, and we started, instead of spending thousands on tray replacements, popping the little chip, and we had working units.
Yeah, there was
that was incredible, dude.
Yeah, the little tray piece that basically triggered the printer to tell it that the tray was in place or whatever. You couldn't buy that part. There was no OEM part for it. So we took it, we did it, we started making pieces for it, and we were replacing those parts on our own. So instead of spending $1,500 on a new tray, we spent 3 cents on 3D printed piece, and those are still working to this day. So, and if we need another one, we just print another one out.
Yeah, that was a great idea, man. That was really cool stuff. You guys, I remember walking back. You guys were printing continuously, day and night, weekend. It became really hot. That was a source of heat in that hallway.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
but I went with the resin printing instead of the filament printing. You see what I've done.
I gotta get one of those. Matt at the office, he just got one.
Yeah.
And man, yeah.
So let me just pull that out for a second here.
That's some good stuff.
Towards you.
Oop, careful.
I just want to show that on screen here. So this is your filament based print, and this is, you made this for me, I don't know, 100 years ago. The Metallica sign, look at that.
Careful, man, you might get sued.
And I just want to say that if you look at this, there's lines and you see the layers put in.
Right.
Now, that's on a filament based printer, right? Because the zoom is, you know how that works. Now, look at the resin. It looks like a CNC print. It's no seams. It's
There's no lines.
Look
and
at that.
Not only that, but
same print time.
Yeah, this is wild to me. I really need to get one of these. In fact, they got them on sale, like Black Friday sales right now.
Nice. And then if you get the Eligo Saturn with a big print plate, it's sick.
Yeah.
So no, man, we're like a couple of crazy techie dudes. I love experimenting with this. I would say this studio would not be working if it wasn't for your help, for your sponsorship, for you giving me stuff that I would be spending a lot more money on,
Okay.
So it's really good. I really appreciate it. It's really a big deal for me. And I promise I won't send anybody to you. Unless you approve.
Hey, if they're good, we'll talk.
But I called you, took care of Jim right away, and you were happy. You know what
stuff
I mean?
like that. Yeah, absolutely.
So I know.
You send me a crazy guy that's going to put a gun to my head, then not so much.
Well, listen, I hope that doesn't happen, but you never know. I mean, people are losing it.
Yeah. Well.
So, what's the future for your studio, man? What's the big thing? What are you thinking about for 2023 about your studio?
I have a bunch of projects that are just getting started right now, which are going to take up a long time. I just brought in a new client, again, friend of a friend of a friend of a friend.
What style music?
It's like James Taylor folk, even a little Johnny Cash-ish kind of like, acoustic vocals.
Are you changing any gear, new mics?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, gear is always a thing for me. I mean, I just started a channel of my own on YouTube for microphone stuff.
Yes, it's extremely technical.
Yeah, it's a little too technical. I think it goes over a lot of heads, but yeah, I mean, like that kind of a thing. Video was the big thing that we did this year. The guy that was an intern for me for a long time talked me into getting into a whole bunch of like video stuff, and it just took
video
off.
is the next.
I mean, all the most of the clients that I had in this year, were all video, audio and video, projects. Most of them were trying to get like press clip kind of things or press kit kind of things together to try and get gigs and stuff, coming out of the pandemic stuff and people trying to get back into live music and working and everything. So there's a lot of bands that are looking for work, and everybody wants to see video nowadays. Like it used to be like you used to hand your tape, to the booking guy at a bar or something like that. It's, oh, we'll take your band, whatever it is. And now it's like, well, what do you look like? It's like a bunch of metalheads. Like, what do you think we look like?
So hold that thought for a second. Let's look at this for a moment. Black Magic. What do you want to say about this brand, Black Magic, for people who are starting off?
If you got the money for it, go for it.
There's some great price stuff. Yes, there are stuff.
I mean,
DaVinci Resolve, free.
It's free. There's a studio version of it.
You can get for that little switcher. You can get for $300.
Yeah.
You're not talking a big. Isn't Black Magic a great way to start?
Yeah,
in terms of brand.
Yeah, I mean the camera's a little more expensive, but when you compare it to what else is out there, honestly, I think for the bang for the buck, I don't think you can do much better. Honestly.
What products do you use from Black Magic currently? Is that your camera?
I have the 6K. Yep.
That's your guy.
I don't have the G2. I have the original.
That's a sick camera.
They changed quite a bit on there. Wow, that's only $19.95. Oh.
Yeah, you didn't know that? I was looking at Look at all this equipment. Now, hold on. All their stuff integrates together. Yeah. Black Magic is a full solution.
Audio, too. They have a giant...
And audio.
Yeah, they have giant audio consoles. Like, it's pretty wild what they do.
So you agree Black Magic is the vendor to look at?
If you're doing video right now... So DaVinci is now the industry standard for color grading.
For color grading.
Yeah. So that is actually the thing that, film, TV, you name it, like that's what they're using for doing the color grading now.
Really?
That has overtaken Adobe stuff,
wow,
Sony stuff. Like it is just blown past it.
Did their hardware advancement take them beyond where Adobe is? Is
software.
That
just the software alone.
Really?
Yeah.
It's that good?
Yeah.
It's that good?
There's a learning curve. I mean, that's with anything. But that software is hands down probably some of the best.
DaVinci Resolve 18.
Yeah, I just downloaded the patch today because I was doing some editing. And honestly, like the things that you can do with that are just unreal.
Black Magic owns the hardware, everything, the software.
I see them as
You can go to this. Look at this photo. This is what you could do with all Black Magic here.
The wild part, you can do compositing, 3D. You can do like effects, like special effects.
Like After Effects from Adobe.
Yeah. There's things that you can do like that. There's certain things that Adobe still does a little bit better, I think, or a little easier, I should say. But Black Magic, get into it. Get in the free version of it if you haven't done. If you're just getting into this whole thing, get your feet wet with the free version. There's the stuff that's in the paid version is very specific to more professional level things. You could totally do a project with the free version of it and not bat an eye. The color grading and everything is still the same in the free version as it is in the paid version.
I'm learning it now, so I go through these large learning curves. I think I got 6 months till I got it the way I want it.
Yeah, it's good.
And
stuff.
I tried OpenShot.
Okay.
I could not get any past OpenShot.
I don't like
iMovie, no. When you compare what you can do with the free DaVinci Resolve compared to iMovie, day and night.
Yeah, it's wild, man. I came from like old school, like Sony Vegas.
Me too, man.
You know,
that was good software back in the day.
For the day,
man.
absolutely, man. I was doing some crazy stuff with that, and you know, that's what I cut my teeth on with video. And a lot of that did transfer over into DaVinci. It's just things were just in a different place, and you know, once you learned where it was like, oh, all right, yeah, I know how to do that now. And but
so no, I also want to say that they have sick cameras. I mean, you're recommending
the
that camera we saw.
Yeah, I mean,
right? I mean, that's some great stuff here. Where's that guy? Look at this baby. Oh man.
Yeah, I have the one on the left there. Oh,
now you brought this
like one on the left.
To the office, and you blew my mind with what they could do. It's nothing I could even. I mean, so for about $3,000, you can have pro.
Oh, absolutely.
Cinema.
Yeah.
Cinema. What does cinema mean? Why is cinema important?
It's a video camera. This is for moving picture. This is not a still camera that can do video. This is a video camera first and a still camera after the fact. Everything that this camera does is geared towards being video. Mm-hmm. And this is not even like the top of their line either.
Right, I've seen 12K.
Yeah,
I mean, 12.
Yeah, I mean, this is bananas.
This is starter level. I mean, for $2,000, you're good.
I mean, you
with
can
the
still
lens.
get into the 4K cameras are like $1,000 now or something like that.
These are $1,200.
Yeah.
Look at these beautiful. There it is, the 4K.
Yep.
Now you can pick up this 4K version. We saw it for $1,295.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, when we looked it up, it's $1,295. Still gorgeous cinema.
Yeah.
EF lenses.
Yeah,
EF
I think you
lenses.
can actually get different mount types now.
Now there's the G. This the one you have.
Yeah, I don't have the G2. I have the original.
The original's here, and then there's the G2 next to it. So slight differential there in the models.
But really great camera, man. I mean, that thing is just. I wish mine like folded out like that.
Really, that's the difference between.
That's what it looks like to me. I don't know if they've changed anything as far as the sensor goes or anything. But like all my other camera stuff, I had all EF. I was a Canon guy, so like all the photography stuff that I did, it was all.
What's
going to
happen when I mix now? Now this shot is of a Canon M50. Mm-hmm. What is this going to look like in comparison to the Canon M50?
It really depends on how good you are with using it.
so no, you said something important to me, and I'm sorry to keep going on.
Yeah.
But there's more to it. It's what's happening in the environment, the coloring. Yeah. The camera's not enough to make all the difference.
This goes to audio also. I mean, you can give a professional audio engineer garbage gear, and they're going to make something great out of it. You can give an amateur professional gear,
and they'll make garbage.
But it's a you really get out of it what you put into it. So like if you understand, and this is one of the big things that I in my YouTube channel, one of the things that I try to push more than anything, understanding how to use your equipment. And this goes for everything, like whether it's computers, cameras, audio gear, cars, whatever it is, whatever you're doing. If you really understand the tools that you're using and you have a real good understanding of the nuts and bolts of how it works and why it works and how each thing interacts with something else, you're going to be able to do great things with it, regardless of what it is.
I go down the rabbit hole with stuff because I love it. I love learning all the little tiny differences.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, if it's painful for you, don't do it. You've got to do it out of love and want.
But that's what being a professional is about. It's not just about getting paid to do what you do. It's about you get paid to do what you do because you have that knowledge. Your knowledge is what people are paying for whatever it is. Like for you, for like doing the networking and the computer stuff, like you didn't just learn that stuff overnight. That didn't just come to you in a dream one day and say, oh, you know what, I'm gonna, But that's what people pay you for. You're an expert in the field of whatever it is, audio, video, computers, whatever.
But you can tell. Look, I mean, even assembling this over the last year or so, There's a will, there's a want. I check and ask the right questions.
It's a passion.
I don't be like, well, I want to start this thing. Where do I start? No, I drive. When I hit a wall, I check with experts.
That's the way you do it. I mean,
the new generation doesn't understand that.
And
tell me from the beginning. Give me the steps of how to do it. No, hack at it till you hit a wall.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, you and I, we didn't grow up like that. Like, you know, we didn't have anybody to talk to. We didn't have the internet to just go out and Google anything that we had to go to a library if we wanted to look something up, or, you know,
it was freaking boring.
If we were rich, we had encyclopedias at home, you know, that kind of a thing, and you know.
You still have your old encyclopedia collection?
No. I don't know where that went. No, and our encyclopedias were like crazy old. They were like from the 70s or something.
Oh man, they're worth money now. They're worth like nostalgic value.
They're worth $0.25 each.
Oh, that's funny. Well, anyway, listen, I think that we do a great job reviewing wonderful products. If any of these vendors want to send me the stuff, I'll be happy to talk about it at length.
Nice.
But you have a really interesting YouTube channel. What's it under? MEI?
It's under MEI Studio.
MEI Studio, okay. And on YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about very complicated technical things.
It's mainly microphone stuff. I have a microphone obsession.
Okay.
So that's like my little...
microphone obsession.
Yeah,
so
that's my little pet thing. My collection of microphones is a little ridiculous. In fact, I think that I have
the mic locker.
Yeah, I have a little short of my mic locker.
And that's you. And I just want to show the audience how gorgeous your video looks. Look at that 6K beautiful camera. That's a 6K camera, folks, not a cheesy M50. You know what I mean? Look at that. Oh my, that was beautiful. You look really good in there.
Thanks.
You did that really nice transition there. So now you go really deep down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I like to go into the history of things. I like to know where something's coming from, where it came from, you know, where it's going, and yeah.
And people can... So what I liked about it is I learned incredible stuff about different microphones that I didn't even know from a short video. I learned more from watching your video mics. Like you never did that with me in your house. Like I never came over. You never had that kind of like... I don't know if I could last through it.
I mean, most people aren't going to sit there and listen to me like drag on about like, you know, tech stuff. I mean, I have my friends that I do that with. Like I have like one dude calls me every night on his way home from work, and we talk for he's got like a 45-minute drive home every night.
And you got real down.
And yeah, we just go down the rabbit hole of like.
Well, I mean, you do it with the OBS stuff too. I mean, we talk
yeah.
and whatnot, you know.
Yeah.
But I've come a long way even in the last few months, man. Everything's working. Look at tonight. Everything worked.
Yeah.
No major issues. The camera looks okay.
Yes, it does. Yes,
everything's working.
Yep.
There's a couple of people who posted stuff. Hey, Eddie Corona.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
hey,
what's
up, Eddie?
You know, I've been a big fan of his for years.
Yeah, man.
He's a very nice gentleman, and we both known him for a long time.
Yep.
When will Suffolk get its access back? So we both know a lot about government. Our first passion is music. I wanted to talk about music and his great studio. I think that at some point in the future we'll have a detailed government conversation.
If I'm allowed. Maybe when I retire.
But I gotta agree with you, man. My passion for music and art is what drives me. The world is screwed up with people who aren't creative, but what the hell are you gonna do? You know. And Mike Castellano, how you doing? He's friends with us in town. Great guy. Had some great experiences. Artie hacked the planet. I don't know, Artie. You have to come back and talk about that further. He works with the Suffolk County Libertarian group. And really great guy. We had him here a couple of weeks ago. Thanks for coming to the show. We're going to end the recording. Thank you very much. I have a cool ending scene.
Nice.
And I'm going to put it on in a second. All right, thank you.
I usually watch until like right now, and then I like click.
Well, wait for the ending song.
I got to see the ending.
That shit for this part, you know. All right, good night.